Hello and welcome to AZAAZ. That's Ask Zenatta Anything About Zoho. This is Volume 1, Issue number 27 for October 11th, 2023. From Zenatta Consulting, I am Brett Martin. I am joined by Greg Belknap, Tyler Colt, and Landon McCluskey. What's up, guys? So, we're doing this every other week now, I think. How many questions did we start with, Greg? Did we wheedle down to the 9 today?
37.
So I guess another 28 of those are answered offline. So check your YouTube. Go into clubzenatta.com and you get some answers there. Or, but here we're going to take the best 9 from the last couple weeks and we are going to give you our answers. You should take that as gospel, whatever we say. There's no messing with it. We are the truth. So with that, Tyler, lay down some words of wisdom, please.
So it's really funny you teed that up because first question here is from Rashad, actually highlighting something I got wrong in FSM video. Spoiler alert. So Rashad's question on the FSM full product tutorial about crews in Zoho FSM. Are you sure the description you gave in this video is accurate? Because I got the impression that crews are like teams in Zoho projects, essentially just a grouping of individual users. So Rashad, correct. I was wrong in that video. I had read the guidance and understood it to mean that crews were like the non-user contractors that might not be a part of like a Zoho 1 license or something like that you can add separately. No, that is incorrect. They are essentially just groups of users, very similar to projects. So like a service appointment could be scheduled to a crew the same way that like a task could be assigned to a team inside of projects. So yeah, good question. We'll have to, maybe Freddie or Wayne will leave like a comment on that video, a little like timestamp or something and point people down. Because yeah, really good highlight. That was an error in that video. They do work very similar to the teams in Zoho projects.
Wow. So Tyler, you're saying it was you made a mistake?
I made the mistake. Yeah, this is a good clarification by Rashad.
I'm going to give you some advice that was given to me a long time ago as a young man. Never look inside. Nothing good can come of it. It's not your fault. Okay? If you go with that was some marital advice.
I'll take that to heart.
4 marriages ago. Never look inside. It's not you. And so with that, next question. Oh, it's for me. Alrighty, our next question comes from Ashkan Fardous, who is over on Club Z, and he says, hey, Zoho books for small business. Thank you for answering my question regarding enterprise scale limitations of Zoho books. Are we going to face the same limitations with Zoho CRM as well? Ashkan, I would say no. For the most part, I think we find that Zoho CRM is rock solid. It does scale up. I would think that the only limitations we really see on Zoho CRM side tend to be around really, really big API calls, API integrations, those kind of things, like really where there's thousands and thousands of calls. I don't know. Why don't you guys help me out on this? I think that I would put Zoho CRM up there with almost any other CRM. Where do you think that are there spots where you think it kind of runs into a wall a little bit?
Maybe you could have some issues if you needed to use a lot of and this isn't so much a CRM limitation as a writer limitation, but like mail merge documents, right? If you were having to generate like those custom, like proposals or, those merge documents like that, the like flows and APIs for those can run a little bit slower since a lot of them have to be done asynchronously. And if you were having to do that on, the scale of thousands at a time, that would be pretty tough. And
I haven't played really deeply with other CRMs, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you run into that with some of the others. I mean, the only big guys that are out there really that would compete against Salesforce would be Salesforce.com, Dynamics, NetSuite, but I don't know how they handle those kind of heavy loads either,
Yeah. I would say the only other real consideration for like enterprise level Zoho CRM implementation is its integration with digital marketing efforts. I would say like it's better than some competitors, but I wouldn't put it at like top of the market. So if you're like the type of company that wants to take 10% of revenue and earmark it for Google ads, like more of like SaaS company, hyper growth model, you can do all of that tracking in CRM, but it will require a lot of customization. Where a tool like HubSpot, it might just be more plug and play. But yeah, I think CRM scales pretty darn well to enterprise use cases.
I think one of the other things too is it's one of the great things about Zoho, but if it doesn't work for a company, if they need something super exact straight out of the box, right? It gives you generic, leads, contacts, deals, and it works fantastic. But if somebody needs something that's very specific to them, but doesn't want to go through all the customization that they can do, again, it's one of the great things about it that you can customize it so well. But if they need it exactly straight out of the box, they're going to potentially run
I think
into
that's probably the same with anyone, right, Landon? Any of the solutions that are out there. So yeah. Anyway,
Well,
I would say no. I don't think you're going to run into too many walls with Zoho. I mean, it would depend. I would look at the APIs, really would, on the CRM side and workflows. I agree with you, Greg.
All right, next one here is from Nikki. After watching CRM Zen Show episode 270, Das Buch, Nikki says, any advice on using CRM instead of Zoho One for a small business? We'd love to have a central system for all our call center or for our call center, but it's tough to decide. So 2 parts here. First of all, CRM instead of Zoho One. CRM is an application that you can have standalone, but also it's included in Zoho One. So if you're trying to decide which to do, I'd definitely do Zoho One, because then you have all the other applications. Pricing is fairly similar depending on how many people you got.
I mean, just the value leverage alone of like adding on things like flow and analytics by
Forms,
themselves, that's already
time.
huge. Yeah, forms, that's huge.
100%.
Desk.
And
Like you were mentioning before the show, Greg, potentially Desk or Landon, you were talking about that too.
yeah, especially for, like they say, call center, right? Call center, you can make CRM work for it, right? You could do that, especially if you're going to have where you build it out and you maybe use Canvas for your people so they can see stuff exactly. You still have the calls pop up on the screen. But call center wise, just normal functionality for that, I'd consider using Zoho Desk. It's very easy to track your communication in there. You still have pop-ups for calls. You can pass things, tickets between users and teams very easily. So that may be what you're going to want to look at. So, and again, included in Zoho One. So,
yeah. And Nikki, since you're asking the question, I want to throw in here. I talk to people about this all the time. You're specifically saying you're a small business. Oftentimes for small businesses, all the users have a license. And if that's the case, you always want to be, in the world of Zoho, you almost always want to be Zoho One, because odds are on the CRM side, you're going to need the Enterprise Edition because it has a lot more features than you have at the editions that are lower than that. And the Enterprise Edition is going to cost you $50 per user per month if you're paying on a monthly basis, whereas Zoho One, if you're on the all-employee pricing plan, is only going to be $45 per user per month, and you have the Enterprise Edition of Zoho CRM in there. So
How that works, who knows?
Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. And then you can start. I mean, there are a lot of other things. The nice thing about Zoho One is, yes, you get that Enterprise Edition of CRM, but there are little other applications you will want. You will want Zoho Forms if you have a website and you want to put some forms up. If you're using Slack internally, you may want Click, right? Like Lana, you were saying, Desk is included in Zoho One as well. So kind of as you go through the list and you're kind of running through it, it's really one of those things where if you're truly a small business and you got, and all your employees are going to be using the app, you just Zoho One, it's a no-brainer. You got to do it. Hope that helps.
All right, next question here comes from Ashkan Fardus, again here from over on Club Zenatta. This is in the Q&A for AZAAZ. So question is, hey guys, do you have experience with the Google Ads integration for Zoho CRM? I heard multiple times that it is either not working at all or is unreliable. So good question. Yes, I do have lots of experience with this plugin, and yes, it is completely broken and unreliable. It can work if you're using only CRM web forms. But even then, it's not 100% consistent. A lot of the times what we end up doing, and Landon, it's funny, we just set this up for a new client that got started recently, is just set up custom fields in the CRM lead, contact, account, and deal, and then use Zoho Forms with its Google Ads integration, which works great. Just scrapes everything right out of the URL bar, and that works perfectly. A lot of the times we'll end up pulling all the data in analytics to end up reporting on it, as you can then marry it up with the actual spend data from Google Ads. But yeah, I would not go down the rabbit hole of trying to make the native integration work. I'm pretty sure it's on the roadmap for a big redo anyways. So I would recommend looking at Zoho Forms with its integration.
And technically you can do something like Gravity Forms, but I would highly recommend just stick with Zoho Forms.
Yes. Yes. Rabbit hole for another day, but yes, do with Zoho Forms.
All right, and one more question from Ashkan, asking some really great questions here. Asking when to use custom modules versus subforms in Zoho CRM. Could you please share any wisdom that you have? This is a really great question. I will say that I try to use a custom module wherever I can. That's my preference. That might just be because of me being a developer, and on the back end, like if you're having to build any custom scripting or functions, things like that, using custom modules to link data records together is a lot easier to me than the subforms API, because you always have to worry with subforms API about like replacing or accidentally deleting rows that are on that subform. Where a subform is incredibly useful, one is that if you really just love being able to put everything in on one screen on that create page, that you want to be able to fill some stuff at the top, and then list like they have the quotes module or the sales order module in there, right? Where you just have like list line items. You can just do it all on one screen. The other thing where subforms are very useful is that you can include subforms as kind of a dynamic table in an email template, right? Where you could set up an automatic email to, send out whatever's in that subform off to a customer. Whereas if it was related as another module, you wouldn't be able to include that related information as like a merge tag. You could do it in a mail merge template, but again, that's a little bit beefier of an automation than just a simple CRM email template. So, all in all, I would say if you have a lot of automations and custom functions, go the custom module route, in my opinion. But if you want to be able to edit absolutely everything on the same page, or you want to be able to send things in an email template, go with a subform. Any other thoughts, you guys?
Can I ask you a question, Greg, to get a little geeky here? I mean, I know that when you're doing a report in CRM, it really almost treats a subform like it's a custom module, right? So you're adding it in that way. Is it that way though when you're doing deluge scripts? Or is it treated completely differently?
It's a
not
list.
Quite.
Yeah, it's a list. The list parameter of the parent. It's not technically like its own database. Like you could not query the subforms module without referencing the record that the subform is on, which is different from in like CRM, right? Like in CRM, we have our meeting log, and in a meeting, you can take a subform of tasks. So in Creator, that task module is actually a separate database. But yeah, the subforms are technically a list of data connected to a parent.
Mm-hmm.
An example I had that we went with subforms. I thought it worked perfect. I had a client who wanted to do on their deals module, put work orders on there somewhere. They were thinking about using notes or whatever it was. We put subforms on there. It's limited at 100, so we had to do 2 because they have some that include about 150 items. But they would create the work order, and each line item or each item in their work order would be a new entry in the subform. And then we added so that depending on what product they were doing, it would automatically add or remove different work order items. And then again, with the email, when the deal was completed and they started a project, it just mail merged and put that work order right in a merge document. It was right there for them.
That's a really good point that I forgot about, Landon. Just you mentioning the subform size limit. I think it is higher now, isn't it? Isn't it up to like 200 or something? Didn't they
Pretty sure.
increase
Well,
the
it's 100
number of
rows per subform, 200 total per record or something like that.
per record. So if you had like 2
That's where it
subforms,
sits.
you could have 100 on each. Yeah. So
'Cause you can only have
certainly
2
if
subforms with it.
yes, unless you have the ultimate CRM edition, then you can have 5 subforms. But yeah, so it depends on if the related records, if you're going to have more than 100 of them, you have to go custom module. So yeah, lots of it's a real gray area. I will say one last thing about subforms that is on the positive side for it that used to be a really hard thing to deal with is that like searching records on the back end, like using Deluge. Now with COQL or COCO queries, we've actually been able to do some pretty good COCO queries of querying subforms. So it used to be really hard to try to search for certain records based on subform data, but actually you can find most of that stuff pretty easily in a COCO query now.
All right, next question here comes from Made for Math. This was asked over on YouTube under the quick overview of Zoho Calendar video. So question is, in June of 2023, Zoho Calendar published that integration with Zoom was an option, but as of October 2023, I do not see that as an option. Any idea why? So Made for Math, I checked this before the show. I do see it. I went in the calendar and then I went to settings and integrations, and it was the only thing in the integrations tab, which I did get a laugh out of. So thanks for that this morning. I chuckled over my morning coffee. So they had a new shiny tab with a little star called integrations, and I clicked it. It's just one thing in the top corner. But I did have Zoom in there available for me. I will say sometimes partners get things rolled out in like early access. I don't remember off the top of my head. Maybe Brett, you remember from that article if it's released or in early access. Either way, though, if you would love to get this turned on, I would reach out to support@zohomail.com and ask them to activate it for you. It could just be it hasn't rolled out to your particular server yet. You know, they have to roll these things out progressively, or it's some type of bug that's making it not appear, but they should be able to get that sorted out for you.
No, I'm pretty certain it's there now, Tyler. I thought
that's
it
what
was.
I thought it was all the
released.
way released.
I thought it was fully released all data centers.
Support.
I know there was.
I'll say it's not in at least our like sandbox, not sandbox, but the demo account that my dev team uses a lot. I looked for it in there and I did not see it in that demo account.
So yeah, reach out to support@zohomail or support@zohomail.com. Include a smiley face in that initial email, and they should be able to get you sorted out.
Yep, they respond well to a spoonful of sugar. Yep. All right, next question comes from Anton from our YouTube video on the Zoho Flow full product overview, which yours truly and Jordan were a part of. Asks, in Zoho Flow, what are the minimum and maximum values that can be set in the delay feature? I had some fun figuring out this one. So for anybody who is unfamiliar, in Zoho Flow, which is like Zapier, right? It's got like these sort of action blocks where you can say, all right, you can create these like decision trees and automations where you say, when this happens in this app, I want to make this happen in another app. Sometimes if, say, you are updating some record and you want to give it a little bit of time to breathe before you move on to the next step, you can add a little delay block to have it wait a certain amount of time before it jumps to the next step. And it's really interesting the way that this delay function works, because I believe it uses Zia or something akin to it. Because there's not like a hours, minutes, seconds, like fields that you fill in. You just write out in plain text in English terms, or I guess whatever, whatever your language is, just how much time. So you can literally write out the words 4 seconds or 13 minutes.
I'm always so paranoid when I use that thing. It seems crazy to me that you just type the whole thing in like that. I've always it makes me nervous when I use it.
Trust level there yet.
Yeah. And so as I was playing around and trying to figure out some of the limitations of it, what I found is that you can input up to 4 digits and then some type of dimension, right? So in that case, the shortest delay that you can create would be 1 millisecond or 0.0001 seconds. You can write that out. You can't say milliseconds. It doesn't like milliseconds, but you can do like decimals. It'll take that. So 0.0001 seconds. Now, technically, I did also get it to accept some things like 1 trillionth of a second. It let me type because there would be some things where I would try to type something in and it would say, no, that's not a valid duration. But I did type in 1 trillionth of a second and it said, sure thing. Obviously,
There's
just
no
like
way that's
computationally, like Zoho's not running on like an atomic clock. They're so the shortest
So to be
amount of time that
realistic
they
here,
can
though,
delay.
1 second is very feasible.
Yes, 1 second is.
But
very
are you
feasible.
also saying then 9,999 years or something, Greg, on the high end? How high can we go? Because you said
so,
4 years.
so much higher than that because it accepted the term millennia. I said 9,999 millennia, and it's totally good. And now one additional thing, you can also say like and add additional things. So like you could say 2 minutes and 30 seconds, right? And so you could say 9,999 millennia and 9,999 centuries and 9,999 decades and 9,000 all the way down to seconds, which comes to about 11 million years.
Wait, did you test
which
you can do something
it let me save it. It let me save it. What?
Oh, but if you do like 2 minutes and 2 minutes instead of seconds, did you try doing the same thing?
Oh, you know what? I did not. I did not try doing that. So essentially, short answer, there is no theoretical max. Because you can just keep adding stuff, I guess. So if you need to wait, the equivalent of the the amount of time that Tyrannosaurus Rex was alive, sure, you can. I think you can theoretically do that in Zoho Flow. I mean, imagine that the Earth is just gonna, be burned to a crisp by then anyway. So,
Wow.
Oh, and then if you do use the 9999, if you do the 9,999, I did find you could also add like multipliers. Essentially, you could say 9,999. Write out the word 1,000 seconds, and it would take that. It's a very interesting. So just further adding to Tyler's paranoia of like, how is this interpreting any of this?
Like 10 billion years.
I gotta assume Anton's in good shape here, pretty much. Whatever delay he wants.
Anton,
to
you can do whatever you want.
Like 20 billion years from now, the Earth is gonna be long gone or whatever, in some parallel universe is gonna be like
email is gonna get sent out.
All right, our next question comes from YouTube. Zoho bookings and Zoho CRM integration for automated deal creation. Robert Hudman says, hey, Zenatta, your position on Zoho bookings is clear and shared, especially when it comes to syncing with external calendars. Curious, though, what is your view on Zoho bookings when paired with Zoho Mail Calendar, keeping it all inside of Zoho One? Do your clients have good feedback on this setup? We are currently using Microsoft 365 for email and Calendly and are considering the move to Zoho Mail plus bookings in the medium term. Hey there, Robert. No. I mean, I don't... Boy. Here's the thing. If your company is using Microsoft Office 365 for email and Calendly, when you move them to Zoho Mail, they'll probably pretty much be okay. Interface is similar. It works exceptionally well. They're going to be kind of happy about it. But it is different. The calendar is different, and people get very, very used to what they have. And they also get used to the fact that you're talking Microsoft Office 365. You want to do a deep dive in that organization and find out how many third-party external tools you have that are plugged in to Office 365, because none of those tools will go over to Zoho, or I should say very few of them are going to go over to Zoho. It's rare. So there's a lot that kind of goes into that. You also want to look at Calendly, and you want to see what you're connecting to over there and what you're doing. And you want to look at your uses for Calendly. So yes, we've shared on bookings. Here are the big problems on bookings. And I think they're saying they've solved it, but the big issue is if you want to send out a meeting link that looks at my calendar and Greg's calendar and Tyler's calendar and Landon's calendar, all four of our calendars, and just presents meeting times where all four of us are available, not going to happen, right? We've run some tests on it. They said it came out, no, sorry, not going to happen, because it's not really pulling a lot of the syncs in real time yet. So I think if you're all in the Zoho universe and you're happy living in the Zoho universe and you have no external connections outside the Zoho universe, you are only doing one-on-one meetings, you're not doing a lot of group bookings, you'll be all right. You will be all right. But that is I just gave you a very rigid set of parameters that I think you need to live in order for that to work. So guys, want to add anything to that?
No, just like you said, it comes with so many caveats and asterisks.
Right.
And it's like I ran into the same kind of thing, when I was researching like Zoho Voice and like their pricing plans, because it's like, we for us, we would love to be able to, fully endorse things like Zoho Voice or Zoho Bookings, and they do work for a very small sliver of there's so many, like, if you are this and this and this and this and this and this, so it really only is well suited for 2% of businesses out there, if that. So
it still just has the
we have clients to use it, but you've got to kind of check all these boxes off. So Robert, if you're like 6 people and you really have no external connections, and you're not doing, you could go through the boxes that Greg and I just laid out, and you're kind of in good shape. And I will tell you though, with that, we have 30 people on Calendly, and we just decided to move a dozen or so over to bookings, mostly on the development team, right, Greg? Because we're saying they don't have that where they're looking at 7 different calendars, and they don't really have that need. It's a very, very simple thing. So we've got them over on bookings. So it's really going to be interesting, I think, over the next 90 days, right, to watch how that interacts. And it's going to kind of give us a little beta subset team that can start trying out bookings, because we would love, said it over and over again. You say I've made my position clear. We would love to move to bookings. Love to.
Yeah, but there's more that they need to fix, though. It's not just functionality, it's calendar integration. It still to this day has the problem of you book a meeting in bookings, it writes it to a third-party calendar. You move it on the third-party calendar, that does not write back to bookings. So now the original time still shows as busy, and the new time still shows as open, which means you could get double booked and you're not taking a booking when you could. It still happens, like, to this day. I mean, I know Josh tested it like 2 months back. Now, for our use case for the developers, those meetings very rarely get moved, and those links will very rarely get used. right? Like most of the time when a consultant needs to book with a developer, they just put something on the calendar when they see we're both free. But yeah, it still has these underlying issues with calendars that it doesn't read updates if the update occurs on the third-party calendar, which is a big problem because you don't always want to go to bookings to reschedule something. You already have calendar open. I just want to drag it 30 minutes, So it does have that issue.
Calendly and Acuity don't care. They don't care. They've made the original booking. They're writing it to your calendar. Your calendar is the record of truth, your calendar. So if you move something on your calendar, that's the record of truth. Bookings is actually keeping a booking.
It's trying to sync your calendar, every single record back and forth.
What was that?
Well, bookings, like with Calendly, when you click on a Calendly link to book my calendar, it makes a request when the user books it and looks at my calendar and shows them what's there. Bookings is trying to sync it all the time. So it's actually keeping two lists rather than just referencing the existing calendar. And that's why it has all these problems. It's just like a structural issue with
and
the
originally,
architecture of the
you
app.
gotta go way, way, way back here, but you go back 4 or 5 years when this thing first came out, it was for like a hair salon. Or where you actually have and you're actually running your bookings on it, so it is the record of truth. It is all you care about. It is the place where you come in and you've got, okay, I've got this service and this, and you still have this. They're in there. What are the services I have? They don't kind of treat it the way that a normal calendar type of integration, right? They look at it completely differently. So anyway. We've gone on about this forever. But so, Robert, yes, maybe, depends. How's that for a definitive answer?
All right. Last question here comes from Club Zenatta from Ryan, who asks, I have an ever-growing number of deluge functions within CRM, Desk, Flow, Creator, and other corners of Zoho, many of which are retired, but which I would like to keep around for future use or reference. I'm just wondering what the best practice is in maintaining large amounts of deluge code. It certainly crowds up the function listings. I imagine copying and pasting unused code out of Zoho would be best, but where? Where does Zenatta keep and reference all of its code? Are there applications that other people use? And that is a really, really great question. Ryan, we like to use Zoho Learn for ourselves. For storing a lot of our, code databases, or especially if we come with it. Because for us, we're most often writing code in systems that we don't always have access to. So if there's a piece of code that we know is going to be useful for other systems as well, we like to create an article in Zoho Learn, and essentially we just like to use anywhere that you can make a good Zoho Writer doc, because Zoho Writer has a really nice sort of code block format style, right? Where you can say, all right, I want to copy and paste a piece of code, and then it'll do kind of that nice dark mode look for you. It'll try to guess some highlighting of like what some key terms are in your code snippet. If you're not into using Zoho Learn, then just Zoho Work Drive also works great. Create like a team folder or something in Zoho Work Drive for code database, and then little folders, and then just create a new Zoho Writer doc and paste that code in there. And that's something that we've used quite a bit here internally at Zenatta.
And Ryan, the great thing about doing it the way Greg said there at the end with Zoho Writer is, with all the metadata you can put in there now, I mean, you can add tags, you can do all sorts of great things in Zoho Writer. It's really, from all the word processors out there, I think the ability to tag and organize and add metadata, it's super powerful. So that would be helpful in, what you were looking for as well, I would think.
Yeah, and that way you could also add, comments to the files and things like that without having to add more comments to the actual code. You could, say like, hey, guys, this works great for this, or hey, we need to update, this part of this code or whatever. Or like, oh, I know this code is being used in this app and this app, or something like that.
If you need it uber simple, you can just use Notebook, but that's if you need it really simple.
Or just copy it all to Taz. You know, that ClickBot, the default ClickBot.
Forget
Just tell
Taz
Taz.
exists.
I use Taz all the time.
You know, it's funny, guys. I went in and have you ever gone into Click on the back end and just played around with customizing all the view settings and how you can do? I mean, I spent a little bit of time there around notifications the other day because the threads, someone put threads into our Click and it was coming up as a whole different.
Oh,
right?
threads
And
are
you
a
have-
lifesaver. They are a lifesaver for the way we use our group channels.
They are. But
They show
for me,
weird.
What's that?
They get their own little weird section at the bottom. I don't really love
That's
that
up to
about
you.
threads. There's some odds and ends. Yeah. Okay. I'll have to go in and look at the
up to you.
settings.
You can just say, no, I don't want them there. I just want them in line in the conversations. And then they don't get their own little section.
I'm going to do
You know?
that.
And then they don't
Yeah.
get their own little section. That was what got me going into it. And I started, we started looking at these apps. It just reminds me there's just so many things. I mean, just a simple question, where should you put code? I mean, in the world, there's a lot going on in the world of Zoho there. So anyway. All right. We hope you found this episode of AZAAZ useful. Now, if you did and you would like to talk to us over here at Zenatta, then please head over to zenatta.com and click on book a meeting. We would love to talk to you.
On the website is where you'll find complete episodes of our weekly podcast, The CRM Zen Show, where we cover all the news in the world of Zoho every single week. If you want that news delivered straight to your inbox every Monday morning, be sure to also subscribe to our newsletter.
And speaking of another spot we store code snippets, we put some code snippets over at Club Zenatta, our online community. Head to club.zenatta.com to join the fun there.
And if you want to get your team trained up on how to use day-to-day operations in Zoho, go to zenatta.com/training. I'm getting more and more feedback every week. People just find that so useful. So head over.
Last but not least, be sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Wherever it is, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Have a great week, everybody.
You guys want to know something super epic? We got my dog from the pound. Ran into her brother today, of all things.
Wow. How fast was she going when they ran into each other?
It's like 35, 40, but that was kilometers per hour, so not that bad.
Are you proud of me, Landon? I had to do it. Bad joke.